The Nantucket Civic League was organized in 1903, and over the last 108 or 9 years, we've been very involved in the community. The mission of the Civic League, and by the way, you'll find some of these cards with our mission statement on them in the back there. Our mission is basically to promote the general welfare of Nantucket through informed citizen participation. And two of our signature events, Meet the Articles today and Meet the Candidates, which will be coming up in 2 weeks from today, Saturday the, whatever the
24th.
2 weeks is, 14th, thank you.
24th.
Oh, wait,
24th.
I'm sorry, 24th. Are our two signature events in that these are provided to the public in order to discover the facts, in order to see the reasons, to see the background behind the different warrant articles that will be presented at town meeting. The Civic League also do forums. We had a forum, for example, at the African Meeting House back in January about the downtown area. And over the years, we've done forums on coastal erosion and so on. These are all part of our mission to encourage citizen participation in community affairs. The fact that we have an annual town meeting here on Nantucket is unique in many ways. It is, of course, one of the most basic forms of government. Everybody has a say in it. Annual town meeting is the legislative body for the town of Nantucket. And just as any legislature has a certain role, a certain function, that's what town meeting is all about. There'll be a total of 98 warrant articles coming up for consideration at town meeting on the 31st. And I do want to mention that town meeting this year will be on Saturday, the 31st. It's going to begin at 8:30 in the morning at the high school. There will be child care provided, and there will also be lunch provided in the high school cafeteria. The object is, if we can finish town meeting by 5 o'clock on Saturday, we'll be all done for the year. If not, we'll continue over and on to Monday evening. So, the program today, I should say, will be broadcast on 2 channels. It'll be on the new PEG channel, the NCTV, and it's also being broadcast on Geno TV, channel 17. The new PEG channel is something that the Civic League has been interested in for a number of years, and again, the whole idea is to include the citizens in the decision-making process, as we'll be doing today. So, without further ado, I'd like to get right to the program. And the first of the articles that we'll be discussing, and I should say the Civic League, out of those 98 articles, we chose 6, well, there are 6 areas. There are 3 articles, and then we've combined a couple of articles as well. And you see the program behind me there. The first article that we'll be discussing will be Article 11. And this is an article that relates to the development of 20 South Water Street. 20 South Water Street, in case you're not familiar, is the old police station. And the town owns that entire block where the town building is, the current sheriff's office, the old fire police station, and the other 2 buildings on the corner. So we've asked Libby Gibson, town manager, to talk about the need for the development of facilities for town employees in town. And we also have Matt Mulcahy. Matt is the chairman of the Finance Committee. And as we know, the Finance Committee plays a very important role in town meeting in that their recommendations are generally widely followed as far as the votes of town meeting. So we've asked Matt here to explain the Finance Committee's position on the article. So, Libby, without further ado.
Sure. Thanks very much. Article 11
of the 2012 annual town meeting also has a corresponding ballot question. And for people's information, the annual town election is 2 weeks following town meeting on April 10th. There are 3 ballot questions. All of them are debt exclusion overrides. This is one of them. So if this article passes at town meeting, it will automatically be considered at the ballot. If it does not pass town meeting, the ballot vote becomes basically moot because both votes are required for proceeding. Several years ago, as we began to be planning for this building, the public safety facility, we also talked about what would happen with some of the other buildings in the downtown, specifically the deteriorating Mooney building and the 20 South Water Street building, which the police would be moving out of. We appropriated $200,000 for design at the 2010 annual town meeting for the renovation of 20 South Water, and the idea was that the Mooney building offices would move in there. The Mooney building would be sold, and the revenue used to offset the cost of debt service for the 20 South Water Street renovation. And as we began discussing it further, we decided to also consider an option of removing the 1 East Chestnut Street building, the so-called old police station, where Human Resources and the NRTA offices are now, and expanding the 20 South Water Street building to house Human Resources, all of finance, including the offices from the town building, the current town building, as well as storage and conference meeting space. So I have an information FAQ sheet, frequently asked questions sheet, that's been posted on the town website. In the interest of time, I'm not going to be able to, I don't think right here, go through all of the details of the need for the 20 South Water Street renovation, but I would say that it is an effort to retain offices in the downtown, which we know is of public concern, as well as giving attention to town infrastructure, in which case both of these buildings are in need of it. If we don't move the offices out of Mooney, we're going to have to give some serious thought as to what to do with the Mooney building. The Finance Committee has given Article 11 a negative recommendation, and at last Wednesday's meeting, the Board of Selectmen basically agreed to abide by the Finance Committee recommendation. Subsequently, at a meeting on Thursday morning, they decided to discuss it again at their meeting next Wednesday, the 14th. I don't know if that will result in any kind of a change to the abiding or not abiding by the Finance Committee motion, but there will be some additional discussion about it next week. The project is estimated to cost $6.7 million overall, which for the average assessed property on Nantucket of $1.5 million would be a tax bill increase over 20 years of approximately $54 per year. That's just about $1 per week. Okay. I'm happy to answer questions after.
All right, Matt, do you want to give us the Finance Committee's position on the article?
Thank you, Alan. The Finance Committee, and as this article and all the articles, as Alan said, makes recommendations to the annual town meeting that are presented in the warrant. In that regard, the philosophy that we take as a committee is that of the fiscal watchdog. So while all these projects, and including this 20 South Water Street, are very desirable, and the indications are there that need to be done, is that we try to look at it from a taxpayer standpoint on affordability. Libby Gibson is absolutely correct. We did move not to adopt the article, and we did put a comment in on the reasons why. And basically, for 2 reasons. One is that this year, the Board of Selectmen has, almost, you could just say, given a directive to the Finance Committee to try to hold our debt service expense at a certain percentage. And what that means is that the town has a certain operating budget for the year, and the debt service is a percentage of that. And the percentage that was agreed upon was 12%. In the outgoing years, if this project were to be accepted, that would raise that percentage to the Finance Committee standpoint of an alarming state almost, and that considering that other projects will be necessary, we were worried about putting an extra onerous burden, tax burden, on the taxpayer. And along with that, in our comment, there was a discussion or a feeling about a feasibility of relocating town employees from two fairgrounds into the core district, and which gave a little bit of a question mark on the right use for where town employees should be. So I think that pretty much sums up how the Finance Committee felt on this article. And again, are we taking questions on this?
Yes.
We are.
I think what this shows is how complicated some of these issues that come before town meeting are. Indeed, there is an outcry on the part of many people in the community that the town employees should be in town where, you know, the business is. And that in itself is a question for discussion. I should say that when the Civic League chooses which articles to present at this forum, at Meet the Articles, we try to look for issues that have a broad community importance or a broad community impact. And as you can see, we have certainly that issue here. So I'd like to see, are there any questions for either Libby or Matt on this issue of the of 20 South Water Street? Yes, Whitey? If you would just go up to the microphone.
Yeah. My name's Whitey Willauer. I'm acting as a private citizen, I hope. Matt, you said move the employees from 2FG downtown. Mm-hmm. Does that include all employees?
No, it does not.
I mean, you got the paint shop there. You're going to move them down?
No, it's not the Finance Committee's purview to say what specifically who to move. It's almost a macro view of downtown offices, the Mooney Building, 37 Washington Street, 2 fairgrounds, and a discussion among the committee about the best allocation for those spaces. Now, and it really, from a committee standpoint, wasn't any more than that. So the answer to your question is no. There was nothing specific about moving planning downtown or moving the paint offices or anything else.
I see.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then for Libby, the $54 per week, or is it per week?
Year.
No, Whitey, it's per year.
Oh, per year. Now, Libby, is that net? Is that after you've sold the Mooney Building, or is that the total amount, whether you sell it or not?
That's just the total amount, whether we sell it or not. So the sale of Mooney and the revenue derived from it would help offset the $54, since we don't know how much Mooney would go for right now.
Yeah, and is that for your full $6 million?
6.7 million, but I'm not sure what you mean. We would apply the full revenue from the sale of the Mooney Building to the 20 South Water Street renovation project.
But when you determine how much the tax is, have you factored in Mooney? You said you didn't?
No, I have not, because we don't know what it would sell for.
Okay, so the 54 applies to the 6.7 million?
Correct.
Okay. I think if I can add, any time an appropriation is approved at town meeting, it's for the entire project, and it doesn't include any possible savings. We'll find that out in, like, for example, in Article 12, coming up next. And so anytime a tax burden is applied, it's for the entire project.
Thank you.
Good. Are there other questions? Carol?
Carol Dunton, this is for Matt. Matt, how much would the approximately $6 million increase that 12.4% debt?
I don't have the sheet in front of me. This is going to go from memory. It was going to be into the, I believe, into the 14% range plus, but I don't have that information in front of me.
I think it was slightly less, if I could interject.
Okay.
And I want to say
defer.
it was about 12.4.
The current is 12.4, is that right?
I believe the current is either between 12 and 12.4, and it was maybe it was between 12.4 and 13. all of the projects that you guys talked about, the 3 debt exclusion overrides,
For this
brought it
year.
into the 14 range for 13.
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't bring that information.
I should have brought it.
I could
too.
get that information to you, though. It is readily available.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you, Carol. Are there any further questions? All right, as I say, I'm sorry, Jason?
Thank you, Jason Flanagan. This renovation project, I realize that it involves the sale of the Mooney building and I guess it's 20 Southwater, which is the former police station. Mm-hmm. Is it also renovating the Broad Street building as well?
The 6.7 million would include some renovation to 16 Broad Street, yes, which involves the bathrooms becoming handicapped accessible on the first floor, which has been an issue and will remain an issue if it's not addressed, as well as some minor renovation in the area of the offices that would be leaving.
Okay, and so essentially what we're talking about is bringing these buildings up to code.
That's a large part of it, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Again, that is an important consideration in terms of the condition of those existing buildings in town. All right, then, I think it's time to move on to the next article. And I hope Gracie had a nice dance lesson.
Thank you.
Great. So let's have the participants for Article 12. This is the bike path, the Hummock Road bike path. We have Matt Mulcahy and Brian. There we are. Brian Sullivan.
Thank you, Alan.
Welcome.
Thank you.
The Civic League chose this article, Article 12. This is with regard to the Hummock Pond Road bike path. Again, because the Executive Board of the Civic League felt that this did have a community-wide impact. As you know, this is a project that's been discussed since the 1980s, if not before. And we have the proponent, Brian Sullivan, to talk about it, and then we have also Matt Mulcahy to present the Finance Committee. So, Brian?
I guess I'll start with, since the commercialization of the Cisco area and the increase in traffic, Hummock Pond Road has become increasingly dangerous for pedestrians, motorists, bicyclists. The significant amount of activity creates a public safety issue. Through the generosity of an anonymous donor has increased the timeline that the planning board originally had on the project by over 10 years. This anonymous donor is going to offer $500,000 towards the project if it's completed by May of next year. A group of homeowners association in the area has created the Friends of Hummock Pond Bike Path, and through the Community Foundation of Nantucket have also created a 501c3 to generate more donation to put towards the public effort. So with those groups and then the numerous conservation owners, homeowners associations, easements have been granted. I believe there's about $220,000 worth of damages have been waived for easements to get the project going underway. So it's really a good opportunity, a lot of momentum. I believe that anybody on the island who travels that road recognizes a public safety issue. So the momentum behind the project and the timing is really strong to do it. Also with the borrowing rates as low as they are, the private donation, the overall sum that is being asked for will be reduced greatly. I don't have the exact figure, but I believe the ballpark is $3.2 million, which is what the planning board is asking for. After the $500,000 donation and any additional funds that are generated, that number will come down lower for the final borrowing amount. So, using Libby's math on the previous one, I think the 3.2 is roughly half. Quick math comes out to $27 a year before taking the $500,000+. So that's basically it.
Okay. In terms of the finances of it, Matt?
Thank you, Alan. Yes, the Finance Committee did vote to adopt this article and to favor this positively, to go to the ballot box. This will also be on the ballot if this is passed at town meeting for approval by the voter. The committee felt that in light of a private pledge for $500,000 and additional pledges from the Hummock Pond Homeowners Association that would total up to $100,000, and even additional money that may be coming in for that, along with the passion of the Hummock Pond Owners Association and the positive response for this, and also the need for a bike path, is that we felt that this was an exception that to our line for debt service, that this was a project that the public desired and would have positive effects for the community. So from that standpoint, we supported this. And again, the motion that'll be voted on is for $3.2 million. But once all the other means of support comes in, that will go down anywhere from, again, $500,000 all the way up to hopefully $800,000. But we'll see. Okay.
Great. And finances, of course, are key to many of these warrant articles. Again, part of the function of the legislative body, the town meeting, is to approve all money expenditures. The town, and a lot of people don't realize this, the town can't just sort of willy-nilly go out and expend money for these different projects. The approval does have to come from the voters, and the voters will have a vote in April on the, whatever, what day is that, 13th?
I'm not sure. I think that's...
I believe it's the 10th of April. Thank you, 10th of April. So there are two parts to this. Even if it passes at town meeting, it is important then that the financing be passed at the subsequent ballot on April 10th. Do you want to add any more as far as the safety concerns and what's been motivating this project over the years?
Well, I think one thing to elaborate on so people understand what it is going to be accomplished is the planning board's goal will be to build one path starting at the intersection of Hummock Pond Road, Milk Street Extension, the triangle there, all the way to the beach, running on the left-hand side of the road. And it would be completed in one phase, and the work would start at, not having their schedule in front of me, I believe October of next year for a Memorial Day completion. As I mentioned, and I think everyone's aware, there's a fair amount of commercial activity between the fish market, the Bartlett Farm, the brewery, the surfing schools that are at the end of the beach, so there is a lot of pedestrian traffic. And it is one of the only areas on the island that is not serviced by the NERDA shuttle, which currently stops at the intersection of Somerset and Hummock Pond Road and comes back into town. So that last segment can be very dangerous. Yeah.
Good. As I say, this is a project that's been on the, well, it's been discussed for many years, and the bike paths on Nantucket are one of the things I think that draw many people here to Nantucket. It really gives people an opportunity to get out and walk or bike along some of these more scenic areas. Are there questions from the audience for either of the panelists regarding this issue? Yes, Mr. Willauer.
Thank you. To Sully here, there's always a possibility things might not work out the way we think they should work out. So do we have this $500,000 in escrow so that if something went wrong, we still would have it?
Not at this time. My understanding is that there is a verbal guarantee from the donor. The Finance Committee, if I understand correctly, in their comment, not their approval. I'll pass this to Matt.
There is a verbal pledge, and there's also a little bit in writing, too, on that. It is in writing. So for this $500,000. As for if it falls through, the Board of Selectmen did direct a comment to say that if this doesn't, in fact, let me just read it. The board intends that it will not go forward with borrowing for the accelerated construction of the bike path without receipt of the $500,000 gift. And the Finance Committee would concur with that.
Okay.
So I understand is the Board of Selectmen will have the money in hand prior to borrowing on the bond.
Okay. And then that will go to offset.
That's correct. That would reduce the 3.2 down to 2.7, and then any additional funds raised would reduce it even greater.
Thank you.
Yep.